Lady Liberty shining bright tonight after the New York Liberty get their first WNBA championship in history. This is one of the original franchises of the WNBA. Welcome into our countdown set here in Brooklyn. LaChina Robinson, Andraya Carter, Chiney, Ogwumike, and Carolyn Peck with you. Of course, it had to be an overtime game, right? The way this final series has gone. I mean, this was a battle. Knockdown, drag out. Both teams gave it everything they had, but in the end, it was the New York Liberty. What put them over the top in your mind, Chiney?
Well, to me, it was after the stars neutralized each other. Yeah. If you think about Fee and K-Max, Stewie and Sabrina, then who left, was standing? It was literally Jonquel Jones. Jonquel Jones has been the most consistent member of the New York Liberty. 18 points. When your center is giving you 50, 40, 90, but more importantly, you guys, I had the pleasure and privilege of playing with her. Yeah. At that time, she was a most improved player. At that time, she was a 6th Woman of the Year. She has matured and evolved into an MVP, a champion now, and a Finals MVP. Again, it's a testament because it's been 28 years for them to get a franchise championship, but look at the evolution of one of their star players in the biggest moment.
When you look when this New York team was put together last year, Jonquel Jones didn't really know where she fit. Yeah. She was very inconsistent last year, and it was this year a change in her mindset. Number one, she came in great shape, but she was able to maintain being that inside presence, that muscle that New York needed, that allowed Stewie to cook out on the perimeter, Leona Phoebus to get her shots, and the opportunities for Sabrina. Look, New York doesn't win this championship this season without Jonquel Jones.
And New York also doesn't win this championship, especially in this Game 5, without Andraya Carter and without Leona Phoebus. Leona Phoebus was the biggest piece that they added this season to the team, but then also Andraya Carter with her health and giving her more minutes and trusting her in this big of moments. Because how many times have we seen championships where the superstars struggle and the team falls short? Yeah. You had 2 superstars that struggled today with field goal percentage in Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, and they had support. Andraya Carter, Rebecca Lobo talked about it time and time again. Limited minutes all throughout the season, played the entire overtime.
She had 9 in the third quarter,
Big
9
time
points
buckets
in the third quarter.
But what you guys notice that coaches say, and you cannot take for granted, is be ready for when your number is called. She averaged 3 points per game in the playoffs. Yeah. Her number was called and she delivered. She said she is the energy, and she took that literally. To me, it was awesome because you mentioned Phoebus. They're teammates on the German national team. This is also a team that has been through a lot, considering, Sabrina and Stewie representing Team USA. So they could have been a little bit more tired, similar to all these other players too. But at the end of the day, when it comes to role players win you games, stars win you series, that's one of my sayings. Well, this game was run by a role player, and that is huge.
Well, and I was joking that Germany New York owes Germany some of the prize money because Phoebus and Sably came up so big. But also, Coach, that's a big decision by Sandy Brondello to insert Sably into that situation. I mean, it took a lot of courage and a lot of trust in a young player to show up in such a big moment.
That's preparation. And I don't believe Sandy Brondello would have put Andraya on the floor if she didn't know that she was ready to handle this moment. And so that's in practice. And as a coach, you're keeping an eye on a player. You're constantly talking to them. Okay, you may not have gotten a lot of minutes here, but your time will be called, and be ready. And that's what Andraya was. She was huge. And we talk about her points.
Yeah. Her defense.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, the big plays that she made defensively.
So
and this
mobile.
is a post player. This is 6'4" that was playing out away from the basket to make those big defensive plays.
That was also matched up multiple times with the woman that has been one of the greatest players we've ever seen in playoff history, in Andraya Carter.
Yes.
Andraya Carter was matched. She being Andraya Carter, second in MVP voting, and Andraya Carter had that matchup multiple times and held her own.
Again, I said it at half. Andraya Carter led the WNBA playoffs in points, in rebounds, in blocks, and steals, and she said, hey, no problem, I can do work. Now let's talk about that final lineup for the Liberty. 6'1", 6'3", 6'5", 6'6", 6'4". The versatility of their roster to play small, but then realize, Sabrina's not shooting the ball so well. Let's go big and still be able to eke out a championship.
And we're talking about Sabrina and Breanna Stewart and their struggles in this game. But we also have to remember, Sabrina hit a shot to win game 3. Brianna Stewart had a 30-piece to kind of help them along, to get her to that shot, right? And but that's why it's a series, and that's why it's a team, and that's why, like you said, you have to step up when your number is called.
But what I say, great players make great coaches, but great coaches take you to championships. I thought that was a masterful move.
Genius.
Because Sandy Brondello had not used the big lineup in this whole entire series.
Yeah.
At one point, she had Brianna Stewart running the point.
That's been the whole playoffs, but that was the key factor, especially with Sabrina struggling.
But you had Leonie Fibish playing the 2. Yeah. You had
Kayla Thornton.
Jonquel Jones and Niara Sabali.
It's unreal. Point guards were on the floor. But to throw that, have that trick in your bag to keep it at the last minute, Minnesota was not prepared for that, and there was nothing they could do with that size that Minnesota, and that helped them. What wins you championships? Rebounds.
Yes. Yeah, and let's take a look at those numbers, because I had to adjust my eyesight here. Sabrina and Brianna Stewart combined for 18 points, but they shot 16% from the field, the two of them combined. The rest of the team had 49 points, and they shot 45% from the field. I mean, look at those numbers. You're talking about the 2 players, to your point, that got this organization here. How big is that for everyone to step up in a moment like this?
Well, 1, it's huge, but 2, let me tell y'all, I don't know if y'all watched this morning. I went on almost every SportsCenter this morning, and I said, for New York to win, Sabrina and Stewie have to be efficient. If you would have told me Sabrina and Stewie would have put up those numbers and New York still would have won, I would have said you're a damn lie.
Well, there were also some questionable calls down the stretch, and one in particular that I want to get to that I thought was a turning point in this game. Now, Brianna Stewart has struggled, as we mentioned, for a majority of the game. And then there was a foul call on Atlanta Smith. Right here, you see Stewart has the ball, goes up. Smith is called with a foul. There was ultimately a review where the official came out and said that it was a foul, and they said because Atlanta Smith was not in legal defensive position. Your thoughts on this call, ladies?
Terrible.
I thought it was extremely unfortunate, because at the end of the day, you want the players to dictate the outcome. And to me, there wasn't that much physicality. I guess maybe it was the movement, the motion towards Stewie, but Stewie was moving forward, and Atlanta was moving forward as well. To me, it just didn't feel right to see that sort of shift the trajectory of what happened.
What I saw was, I think that the initial call was because of what was happening, the hand up above the ball. So if you go back and review that, I do not believe that was a foul. I thought that was all ball. Now, if it's a lower body,
that's what I think they made the decision on.
That's a very questionable call.
So it's being in the league, I've seen a lot of calls happen on the upper side because your hands are not completely vertical. What they tell you is to jump up and stay straight. Once your hands came down, I was like, ooh, they could call that just on eye test.
But it was all ball.
But then when they reviewed it, it didn't look like there was enough contact to be able to say, all right, that feels like a huge foul worthy call.
Really a turning point.
Well, it was a huge turning point. It was not a good call.
Turning point.
Y'all are being great about it. It was Stewie's opportunity to tie the game up with barely any time left on the clock. Give her credit for making those free throws.
Redemption for missing the ones in game 4.
Yeah. But it was a bad call.
Yeah. Well, Cheryl Reeve is at the podium, the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx. Let's hear what she has to say about tonight's loss.
You know, it's a shame that officiating, had such a hand in a series like this. Obviously, there's always going to be a team that's going to be a little more disappointed than the other. I thought today was incredibly disappointing. The challenge, we have got to change our challenge rules, and the officials doing the game should have a third party, because that was not a foul. That call should have been reversed on that challenge. If we sent that clip in, well, first of all, Nafisa Collier, the number of times that she's held, et cetera, and there's nothing down that end, right? Which we, it's kind of, for whatever reason in the series, that was kind of the way it was. But when at the other end, when we challenged it, if we would have turned that clip in, they would have told us that it was marginal contact, no foul. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So when you review, those should be the same parameters that you're reviewing with. But the 3 people that are on the game need a third party to let them know, because that decided the game.
LeBron James tweeted this. I'm sorry, but that wasn't a foul. Let the damn players, I don't know if I can say it on air, dictate the outcome of a close, battle, tested game. Drea.
The word that Cheryl Reeve just said that stands out to me was marginal contact, because to me, that wasn't a lot of contact at all, especially in comparison to all of the physicality that they let go the entire game.
Yes.
There were so many plays, even just Niara Sabalei's steal, which was a great steal, there was marginal contact on that. They let it go. There were multiple plays, multiple hacks that they didn't call. So then to call that one feels egregious to me.
A lot of physicality. Nafisa attacked the rim the play before Stewie got that opportunity. That could have been a foul, but they let it go.
Solves all of that? The thing that Cheryl Reeve talked about is the challenge. You have 3 officials that made the call, and then they go back to the camera and they grade or they correct themselves. There needs to be a third party that is not
like
in the game.
Like a replay room.
Exactly. Yeah. That helps them make the decision of whether or not that was the right or the wrong call.
I know this is really hard to hear if you're the Minnesota Lynx, because you had the opportunity. You're a couple of possessions away from winning a championship, but they have nothing to be sad about.
Right.
They had a tremendous season. They have emerged as one of the top teams. I mean, this is a team that a year ago did a complete 180. You talk about a team that led the WNBA in three-point percentage. I think they were 11th in that category last year. This was a team that was led by Nafisa Collier, who had, you know, it was a otherworldly season from Asia Wilson dropping 1,000 points. If it was not for that, she would have been an MVP. There is nothing to hang your heads down about. They had a phenomenal year, and to me, I think they're going to be a powerhouse for years to come.
And their 2 stars showed up. I mean, Nafisa Collier and Kayla McBride gave their all on the floor. Not to say the whole team didn't give their all, but those 2 put their best foot forward in terms of scoring, in terms of production. They didn't have quite as much help at all. No one else with more than 6 points. They didn't have much help in this game.
New York did a revamp last year with their team. Minnesota did a revamp this year. That's why I believe Minnesota could be that team that could be right back in this position.
Yeah, and we have to make it clear. I mean, that foul that we had discussed, there was 5.2 seconds left in the game. It was 58-60 Lynx lead. But in the overtime, the Lynx had 5 turnovers in OT.
Well, New York turned their defense up.
Yeah, they were 0 for 6 from the field. So you got to credit what New York did in that overtime to eventually get the victory.
Well, that was going to be my next point too, LaChina. You took it right out of me. Was Minnesota still had a chance to win it. They still had a chance in overtime to get that championship, but I think they were a little deflated from that call.
Do you know why they rarely were able to do it in OT? Leonie Fibish. That
first
woman
3
has ice in her veins. Countless times, we talked about it in the Vegas series, where she'd go 2-on-1, huge momentum swinging point. Normally people are like, let me take a layup. Nah, she'll shoot the 3. The first make of overtime was a corner 3 with like 5 seconds starting the period. To me, that was huge. And again, you talk about a team that didn't make many changes. Well, one of the biggest changes was a 24-year-old rookie who has a very coveted, that's the shot right there, skill set, 3 and D, that was able to, if you strike first in overtime, you have a great shot at winning, and they executed exactly that.
You had 2 star players that had experience last year. Leonie Fibish did not, but she was ready for the moment.
She's internationally battle tested.
Played overseas, right?
Yeah,
she's played internationally. Big-time EuroLeague games. She played in the Olympics this season. She was huge for Germany on that stage this season. She was ready for the moment.
I mean, you watch the celebration here, and you have to be so happy for the New York fans. I mean, we were panning. We saw Teresa Weatherspoon in the crowd.
China.
Sue Wicks was in the crowd.
Sue Wicks was screaming at the team.
Some of the legends that have built this franchise and played and tried to win championships and did it for so many years. You have to be so happy for New York.
Absolutely. Like I said, 51 years they've been waiting. We knew walking in here that they were just trying to manifest the championship, and it was delivered.
Brianna Stewart came home to the home state to bring him a championship.
And the owners invested properly to give us this entire show for this championship. It was phenomenal.
Claire Wu-Tsai talked about that. They were playing in Westchester not too long ago, and here a packed-out Barclays gets to see the Liberty win their first WNBA championship.
They are celebrating in New York after the New York Liberty win their first title in franchise history. And with me now is the MVP, Jonquel Jones. And Jonquel, I'll get into you in just a minute, but just tell me really quick what this means for you and your team. You were just in that locker room celebrating. You guys did it. You are champions for the first time.
Oh, man, it means everything. It means everything to be able to pull out a championship and pull out a win. I just know how bad everybody in the locker room wanted it. And, you know, it's a great group. We really love each other. So to be able to finish the season like this as champions is second to none.
You're holding an MVP trophy. I mean, what a night for you, right? You were perfect from the free throw line, 17 points to boot. But I mean, I know you're going to talk about your team, but your performance tonight, just tell me how you were feeling out there and how good it feels to hold that MVP trophy.
It feels amazing to hold the trophy. It feels really amazing. I would say it feels amazing. But I would say that, you know, I just wanted to come out and I wanted to play really aggressive. I wanted to do my thing and just have a good time and just really play to win and not to lose.
Okay, and you guys did that, obviously, coming away with a victory. And I would be remiss not to ask. Look, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, they've gotten a lot of the headlines here throughout this. And they did struggle, and you guys really didn't come out strong in that first half. There was a reset, obviously, at halftime. What was said in that locker room that really made things turn on?
We had to weather the storm. You know, we had to weather the storm. We had to make sure that we did our part to make sure that we helped Sab and Stewie. They were sending a lot of bodies at them. You know, they wanted, if we were going to win, they wanted to make sure that it wasn't because of those two. And so that's when you step up as a teammate. That's when you really want to kind of just go out there and make them pay for how they're kind of defending us. And I think we did a good job of doing that.
Yeah, I think you guys did too. And look, there were a lot of legends in the building tonight, a lot of celebrities, all of the things. But considering this was a championship, 28 years in the making, as we keep hearing over and over, what did it mean to win this thing, not only for your team right now, but those that have come before you as well?
Yeah, man, like I saw Teaspoon. She came up to me after the game, after we won, and she said, thank you for doing it. And I told her, thank you so much for paving the way, because it's legends like her that came and you know, played the game in the right way and really lifted the WNBA up that allowed people like me, youngsters like me, to come in and ultimately be able to do this. So we definitely have to show love to everybody that paved the way, that sacrificed for this organization. This isn't just about us that are here right now, but for everybody that's worn a Liberty jersey.
And how about this series between you guys and the Minnesota Lynx? I mean, multiple overtime games, including tonight. First time in finals history that there has been an overtime game in the winner-take-all game. And so the Lynx, the competition, but the stifling defenses on with both teams in this one. Credit to you guys, but how competitive really was this series being in it?
It was super competitive. It was super competitive. We knew coming into overtime, and as overtime started, that it was going to be a defensive game, that it was going to be the team that got the most stops that was going to walk away with it. It really wasn't about the scoring. And so we just had to execute and make sure that we stopped them from scoring, and we ended up doing that, and we were able to be victorious. But just hats off to my teammates. We weathered the storm. We kept our composure, and look at us now. We're celebrating.
Look, in this game, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and there you are with an MVP trophy. And, of course, again, the Liberty win their first franchise championship. We're so happy for you, Jonquel. Thank you so much for joining us here on SportsCenter.
No problem. Thank you for having me.